An act to establish the Office of the Special Prosecutor as a specialized agency to investigate specific cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses involving public officers and politically exposed persons in the performance of their functions, as well as persons in the private sector involved in the commission of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses. I am reading the Office of Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959. That is our focus this afternoon, seeking to give you some education about the functions and the powers of the Special Prosecutor. What can it do and what can it not do? I'm Samson Ladia Yanini. This is the law. It is your legal light. It's your help law. Here, we teach you pure law. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is the law. It's your legal light. It's your help law. And as I indicated to you earlier, we are discussing the Office of Special Prosecutor. How special is this office and how special is the prosecutor? I have two senior lawyers joining me to help us do that discussion this afternoon. So get ready and let's have all your questions, nagging questions, bothering your mind about the Special Prosecutor. My guests are Musa Ahmed. He's no stranger to this platform. He's head Ahmed Legal Consult. Also, Julius Opokueje. He's also head of Opokueje and Co. Gentlemen, thank you very much for making time to join us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Hello, Ahmed. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
All right. I think we have a little problem with your line so far. It doesn't look stable, but let's hope that you are able to keep it in a stable shape so that we can continue with the discussion. So let's begin here. What is the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Julius?
Well, the Office of the Special Prosecutor
has a lot of history behind it.
Yes. As the name suggests,
right.
First of all, he is a prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
And he is special because of the focus, or the office is special because of the focus that the law seeks to give it, and then the powers and functions that it performs. We have had a history of fighting corruption, and we will admit that we have not been very successful. We have SHRAJ, we have the Serious Fraud Office, we have which more or less metamorphosed into
Serious Fraud Office, which became EOCO.
EOCO.
Yes.
And then we have
EOCO is Economic and
Organized Crime Office. Yes. We have the Audit Service, Parliament itself, especially the Public Accounts Committee, and all that. So many institutions to fight crime. But we realize that we haven't been able to deal with corruption the way we want it, the way it should be. What has been the main missing link, I'll put it that way, for fighting corruption? And I think that we have concluded that it is an independent prosecutor. Now, what I mean here is that if you look at all the offices that we are talking about, apart from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, whatever work they do, if you end up having to prosecute for crime, you will have to go to the Attorney General, who is a member of the executive, appointed by the president, and serves at the pleasure of the president. So I think the idea is let's have somebody who has investigative powers, like the police and EOCO and Audit Service and everybody else has, but also has powers of prosecution which are independent, and I'm putting independent here in quotes, independent of the Attorney General, so that he or she, the special prosecutor, is not pressured by the executive to take certain actions or not to take certain actions.
Okay.
By our constitution, every prosecution is at the behest of the Attorney General, Article 88. But the law, as has been passed for the special prosecutor, has given the special prosecutor the permission, let me put it up, the permission of the Attorney General to prosecute. But this is the kind of permission which the Attorney General cannot withdraw.
Okay.
So the special prosecutor does not need the fiat of the Attorney General to prosecute based on whatever findings that it gets from its investigations.
When you say it does not need the fiat, you have taken us too deep at the start, but it's okay to go on. It does. The special prosecutor does not need the fiat of the Attorney General. What does that mean? Who needs the fiat of the Attorney General, and what is fiat?
See, as I said, every prosecution in this country is at the behest of the Attorney General. So Attorney General.
And you said that is according to
the Constitution, yes.
Article 88,
yes,
particularly Clause 4. Yes. Okay.
So everybody you see in court who is prosecuting somebody, I mean, and this is a criminal matter, is doing it because the Attorney General has given that person power.
So please hold on for me. Article 88 of the Constitution of Ghana, 1992, says that 88(4), all offenses prosecuted in the name of the Republic of Ghana shall be at the suit of the Attorney General or any other person authorized by him in accordance with any law.
Yeah, first of all, maybe this might be pedantic or academic. If we say all offenses prosecuted in the name of the Republic of Ghana, we don't allow private prosecutions in this country. So all offenses are prosecuted in the name of the Republic.
Anyway.
And it is the Attorney General who prosecutes. So if you see a policeman, a police prosecutor in court, he is there because the Attorney General has sent him. And the Attorney General can also say, please, withdraw that prosecution.
Okay.
If you see a state prosecutor in court, or a prosecutor for SNET, or for Yoko, or for Ghana Telecom, they are all prosecuting based on the authority, the permission of the Attorney General that I'm giving you the power to prosecute these cases. And they are given power to prosecute specific cases. Attorney General,
specific cases?
Yes.
Not all cases?
Not all cases. If for the police, for instance, the police are given power to prosecute criminal cases, usually at the district and circuit courts.
Okay.
You will hardly find a policeman prosecute, even where the policeman is a lawyer. You will hardly find a policeman prosecuting a case in the High Court. It is usually a state attorney, a lawyer employed by the state to do that. You find somebody
when they investigate such cases like murder and the rest,
yes,
they have to take the product of their investigations to the Attorney General. Then the Attorney General
will decide what to do, whether or not to charge the person, before which court to charge the person, and the mode of trial, whether it should be summary or on indictment.
Okay.
All that decision is taken by the Attorney General. If it is a Senate matter, if it is a Ghana Telecom cable matter, in theory, that is what happens.
All right.
They are given permission by Attorney General to prosecute certain specific cases.
Okay, so now contrast that with the special prosecutor, because that's what you are about to do, and I ask you to explain what exactly you mean that the special prosecutor doesn't need to do its prosecutions the way the other institutions do their prosecutions.
The Attorney General has given the special prosecutor permission by law, which he cannot withdraw, because the Act doesn't allow him to withdraw.
Permission by law?
By the Special Prosecutors Act.
Not by a fiat?
Not by a fiat.
Okay.
The law says the Attorney General's right to prosecute. Some of it has been taken, and he's
donated
to have given the special prosecutor the right to prosecute without going back to the Attorney General.
Okay.
The only link between the Attorney General and the special prosecutor is that because he's exercising the Attorney General's powers, the Attorney General has a hand in the appointment. He picks who he thinks should be, he or she should be for the president to appoint.
He recommends the president.
Appoint this person. And then,
if I'm recommending your appointment, then I have some control over you.
You don't, because you cannot recommend my disappointment, my removal. That is where the problem usually comes from. If I have to be beholden of you to be promoted or to stay in office, then I will do what you want to do, or I am likely to do what you want me to do. But if after appointing me, you cannot do anything about it, then I'm independent.
The state, the executive, appoints Yoko head, appoints IGP, and they have control over them. they can remove them.
Yes.
You can't remove the special prosecutor. Why?
You can remove the special prosecutor only by going through Article 46 process, which is like removal of a superior court judge. You must go through the same process for removing a superior court judge, which is a very onerous task. So you will not take it lightly.
Okay.
And another measure of protection is that the special prosecutor's term is fixed, one term, 7 years. So I don't need promotion from you. I'm appointed. I have a 7-year tenure. My remuneration and conditions are fixed like that of a Court of Appeal judge. And because I don't need a renewal of my mandate, I don't need to please you.
Okay.
After 7 years, I'm gone. There's nothing I can do about it.
All right. All right. Interesting. Like I said, Leopold has started us too fast and deep into, the deeper things. But fair enough, we'll continue. We're going to take time and break down what powers the special prosecutor has, the functions that it performs. Can it arrest you? Can't it arrest you? Does it have the power to say it's granting bail or cannot grant bail? I've heard people say, where does it get the power to? What the heck? To say that you are granting bail to Professor From Boateng and the rest of them, and you are chasing people with warrant and so on. Who are you? Let's see if Musa Ahmed's line is stable now. Hello, Senior.
Yes, my brother. How are you?
Great. Your line is so clean now. Thank you very much for making the time to join us, despite your very busy schedule. When we say
Thank you.
Office of the Special Prosecutor,
yes,
Opokwejay has begun his explanation of that to us. From where you sit, what will you tell the ordinary Ghanaian? What makes this office special?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. The Office of the Special Prosecutor, in terms of the law does not define what it is to say it is special. But we can assume that it is special because it has been given the power, in spite of the power granted to the Attorney General under Article 88 of the Constitution, to, as it were, prosecute specified offenses committed by public officers, persons of politically exposed nature, people associated with public offices in terms of corruption-related matters. So
and private.
Yes, private individuals who are associated with public officers or private individuals who commit offenses relating to corruption under the
sorry to interrupt you there. Doesn't this make it special? Because as we know, can a private person be subject to corruption prosecution?
Well, the offense is specified in the Criminal Offences Act, what corruption means. Now, you may be, for instance, because the special prosecutor has been given power to prosecute offenses under the Public Procurement Act. You know what the Public Procurement Act does. So it means that definitely a private person will be involved in the process of public procurement. You could be a contractor procured or secured to perform a certain task under the Act. So that makes you exposed to the Act. And that is the reason why a private person, in his capacity as a private individual, who performs any function relating to the Public Procurement Act, would come under the ambit of the special prosecutor in terms of commission of offenses under those acts, including offenses under Act, the Criminal Offences Act, if you like. So to that extent, one would argue that it is justified for a private individual to be prosecuted by the special prosecutor in the performance of his functions.
But there's a
within the meaning
reason.
of-
But there's a reason this law specifically mentions private persons. Is that not so?
Yes, the private person is mentioned in the sense for the reason that, as I said, you may, as a private person, be related to be too exposed politically. For instance, I may be a brother to the President of the Republic. I may be a brother to the Speaker of Parliament. I may be a brother to a Minister of Finance, a minister in terms of the state institutions, a chief director. And I may be in a position to influence decision making. And if I do so with an evidence is produced that in my private capacity, I did influence the commission of an offense relating to corruption, then I come within the ambit of the act.
Right. So, what are the main functions of the Office of Special Prosecutor?
Well, the special prosecutor is specified by law to investigate and prosecute all offenses relating to corruption in the public service.
All right.
And all offenses relating to corruption under the Public Procurement Act. These are the functions that the public prosecutor has been designated to perform in terms of prosecution, investigation, and other matters.
All right.
So specifically,
right.
the functions can be specified into two. One under the Public Procurement Act, and then the other one is under the Criminal Offences Act.
Great. What else can you add from the law constitute the functions of the special prosecutor?
They are after the investigation, which of the whatever offences come under the Public Procurement Act, the Criminal Offences Act, and other such laws, the audit service, investigations. Then the public prosecutor is expected to prosecute based on the findings. It also has the powers to recover the proceeds of the offense, to recover the proceeds and manage the proceeds. If it's money, collect it and put it into an interest-bearing account whilst the proceedings are ongoing. If it is an asset, to freeze and then take over the asset. And it also has the power to disseminate information, whatever information it gets, to other relevant institutions. Depending on the area of investigation. For instance, if it involves procurement, whatever information it picks from the investigation about maybe how the people operate to do the procurement system, etc., it's supposed to give that information to the relevant authorities so that they can plug the holes going forward. It also has the power to cooperate with these institutions we have mentioned. Maybe we haven't mentioned them, or we've mentioned the audit service.
That would be a duty then, rather than a power. Cooperating.
Well, you might look at it that way. To cooperate with them and even cooperate with foreign bodies, because some crimes are transnational. Either the person committed it abroad and has accomplices here, or part of the proceeds are brought here, or it's a Ghanaian who has committed the offense, or the offense has been committed affecting Ghanaian funds with some of the proceeds out there. So generally, these are the functions that it has.
Right.
It also very important, has to publish its findings twice a year, every 6 months, on its website, and then in 2 newspapers, daily newspapers of a national reach. Very important.
Okay. Interesting there. Is there any other, body that does this kind of work that is mandated by law to publish, like you just said, some of the things it does twice every year?
I cannot readily think of any where they are mandated, so it is not their decision whether or not.
What could have informed this kind of, demand on the special prosecutor?
In my opinion, when you publish, the public then follows what you are doing. So you cannot receive complaints or initiate investigations yourself, and then as somebody will say, the investigations dissipate. the complaints disappear. If it is public, we know what you are doing. So the whole world is following you. So it then puts you on your toes to ensure that the right things are done. We know of several investigations and even prosecutions which have started but ended nowhere. Mm-hmm. They disappear, and until and unless somebody either goes for information following the Information Act, or you go to court yourself, or you write letters to find out what is happening, nobody knows what is happening, especially when it relates to corruption involving very powerful people. But if you are mandated to publish everything that you are doing every 6 months, the whole world knows whether you are working or you are not working, okay, whether you are efficient and effective or you are not.
Right. Now, before we go to the other aspects about whether they can arrest, they can do all these other things, Musa Ahmed, the question is, we had years of advocacy and debate for such an office, and the current president in opposition made the promise. It resonated with people, you know, particularly, if you like it, middle class, and they said, yes, he's going to help us fight corruption with an independent body. I have personally spoken to former attorneys general, and they say, look, the office of the attorney general cannot prosecute certain people. That one, let's face the fact. I sit in cabinet with other people. I have been in a party with people who have even contributed better to the party's growth than I am. And then you say they have done something wrong. I should prosecute them. It won't happen. So will you say that we got what we sought?
This is a difficult question, but I will do my best. You know, the object of the office of the special prosecutor, indeed, if you read the act and you look at the memos and the political statements which preceded the passing of the act, explicit, excellent, good idea. We are going to root out corruption from our system. But the question to ask is whether corruption has been able to be completely eradicated from our system. If we are able to answer that question in the affirmative, it means that we got what we wanted. In my opinion, we have not succeeded. It will be wrong and it will be deceit of the public for me to sit here and make a definite conclusion or statement that we have achieved the aim that was espoused by the proponents of the Special Prosecutors Act. Indeed, the Special Prosecutor has done a lot in terms of fighting corruption, but a lot more has to be done.
But if we limited ourselves to the law that sets it up, is it as it were what we wanted? There are examples elsewhere where we are told, in Malawi, for example, that they have such an office, and for the first time, the office was able to prosecute the vice president, the IGP. This will not happen in any attorney general's office.
Well, we are yet to encounter a situation in Ghana where those specified office holders have committed offenses within the meaning of our laws. We are yet to encounter. But I believe that when we get there, the special prosecutor should be bold enough to be able to do it. In Ghana, for instance, you cannot prosecute the president, the vice president. You cannot easily prosecute a member of parliament because we have laws that gives them some immunity, especially the president. So we could excuse them. But powerful ministers, powerful public officers, when they commit offenses, we've had examples in Ghana that a special prosecutor, for instance, in the case of I wouldn't say he's too powerful. Charles Bissiou. He was a member of the executive, if you like, because he performed functions similar to Minister of State. And he was invited out of flight or, fear. He went to court to secure an injunction, which I disagree, against the state. Maybe we'll talk about that one later. So to some extent, I would say that the special prosecutor has done well, but there is a lot more to be done. We haven't achieved the aim that the act was intended to achieve.
Yes, but my question is, my question is, does the law empower the office enough to be able to do what we advocated and campaigned for, and which President Akufo-Addo, took on and everybody was excited about when he was in opposition? Does the law provide?
So. I don't think so.
Please explain.
The reason being that, you see, it appears from the act, and it is even explicit, that the Attorney General shall be the one to authorize him to prosecute offenses. And that was done because Article 88 empowers the Attorney General to be the only responsible person in Ghana to prosecute offenses. I would have thought that Article 88 would have been amended for purposes of granting independent power to the special prosecutor to be able to investigate, arrest, and prosecute without the fiat of the Attorney General.
But the OSP doesn't prosecute at the fiat of the Attorney General.
Well, you may say so. I heard my learned friend, but the law says that he will do so under the authority of the Attorney General. It means that the law more or less empowers the Attorney General to grant him that power to prosecute. But the question is, would the Attorney General grant him, if in camera, if you like, outside the public view? Will the Attorney General not interfere with his functions? Because he seemed to have a supervisory role over the special prosecutor. So to that extent, you cannot say that the special prosecutor has an independent mind.
So let's stay with the law. Let's stay with the law. Where in the law can we say the Attorney General has supervision over the special prosecutor? Because the special prosecutor goes to prosecution without permission of the Attorney General. It doesn't show its docket to the Attorney General like the police and others will do. The special prosecutor has power to start a case and say, I'm not interested in this case again, I terminate it. Power of nolli prosequi. All these other institutions don't have that power except the Attorney General. The Special Prosecutor Act in Section 4 says that the office of the Special Prosecutor shall not be subject to the direction and control of any person or authority in the performance of his functions. Where can we find the supervision by the Attorney General that you speak about?
We can find the supervision in other laws.
Okay.
You see, who provides the funding for the office of the Attorney General? The Special Prosecutor.
The
who
state.
pays him? These are matters we have to look at. You can use funding to undermine the powers of the Special Prosecutor. And indeed, there was even an instance where the Special Prosecutor came out to complain about his emolument. He complained about his office. He complained about non-availability of facilities to ensure a smooth performance of his functions. These are issues which are vested in the executive.
The first special prosecutor actually complained about this, and the second special prosecutor also had complaints about some of these, including that they were not paid for about 17 months.
That is so. So to that extent, you cannot say that he is completely independent, and therefore he can investigate without any impediment, he can prosecute without any impediment. They can use all these tools, financial tools in particular, to subvert him.
So financial independence is not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed.
The judiciary is not guaranteed financial independence. SHRAJ is not guaranteed financial independence. EC is not guaranteed financial independence. All of them depend on the executive. So is that the stretch?
But you see, this is an office that has been granted special power to eradicate corruption or corruption-related offenses. So one would have thought that the powers that is granted should be different from the existing powers granted to the judiciary, the audit service, and all other institutions who are mandated to fight offenses in Ghana.
Okay.
Because we thought that we were setting up a special office to deal with a canker, which for many years has been a problem in our progress, in our development.
Okay.
So for me, there are a lot of checks, which is making it impossible. For instance, the functions that the special prosecutor has to be able to cooperate with international bodies, for instance. How would he be able to do that if he doesn't receive the cooperation of the government of the day?
Okay. All right. So
Because no individual state can just walk into Ghana and say, I want to have a discussion with the special prosecutor. You will need a visa to enter Ghana.
okay. This office, when it prosecutes, recovers money, and so on, is supposed to keep as much as 30% of that money. That's good, isn't it?
Well, that is good, but the judiciary also, I know they also keep a portion of what they also recover.
Okay.
You understand? But that will not be enough because the special prosecutor is supposed to have lenses all over the regions of Ghana.
Right.
And it is expensive. So the 30% we are talking about in terms of fighting corruption effectively will be nothing.
Okay. So confirm this for me. You have issues with the financial independence, but not with the prosecutorial independence, correct?
The prosecutorial independence, I also have an issue to the extent that he has to rely on the police.
He has to rely on police.
On police, of course. If you go to the office of the special prosecutor, the investigators there are seconded from the Ghana Police Service.
The law, the Special Prosecutors Act itself says that the special prosecutor, they have police powers.
Yes, that is correct. They have police powers. But the special prosecutor cannot on his own, without the assistance of the modern or normal police service.
Okay.
Just bump into somebody's premises to effect an arrest. We know he's a civilian. And as I said, that all the investigators, or almost all the investigators who are working in the office are police officers.
No, they are not. They either have left the police service and are now in the employment of the special prosecutor. And Martin Amidu gave us an idea when he started the recruitment that he didn't want people who will dilute what he has to do. So they are not people. It is not the police that is assisting them. They are recruiting fresh.
Something in the eye.
Yes, come in.
I believe that we have the situation somewhat that Musa Ahmed is describing, because this is a new office.
Okay.
An office which has just been set up. You mentioned Martin Amidu. He didn't serve for long. He left the office, and Kisi Ejabin has taken over. Setting up an office, training investigators, training prosecutors will take time.
Okay.
So if you have a pool of trained investigators and prosecutors already, for me it makes sense to draw on that pool. And that would mean either recruiting those who have resigned or retired from services where they were trained to do those things, or training some yourself, but it takes time, or getting some of them seconded to you to use them while you go on to build your own pool of investigators, trainers, prosecutors, and all that. So, as far as I know, the office does not use the police for prosecution.
Yes, so
they use their own officers.
The office is actually confirming to us this moment that all the investigators they are using are directly employed by the office.
Not even seconded?
No, they are directly employed by the office.
Thank you.
And there is no police officer there.
The only people who are on secondment are those who protect the property.
Okay.
Yes.
Provide security.
Yes, provide security.
Those,
and they use military officers also for security, but they don't do the work. All right.
It makes sense to me.
Right. So what does it mean when the law says in section 28 that the special prosecutor and authorized officer shall exercise the power of a police officer specified in the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act?
Okay. So the question then would be, what are the powers of a police officer under the Criminal and Other Offences? I still say Criminal Code and Other Offences.
It's all right. It's permitted. Yeah.
Criminal Procedure Code. It's generally the power to arrest and to search. Generally, the power to arrest and to search. Of course, we've talked about prosecution, but we know that they do that not as police officers, but as agents of the Attorney General. But powers that the code gives them, the Procedure Act gives them, is to arrest with or without warrant, and then to search with or without warrant.
Right.
So the office has those powers as well.
So power to search and take possession of documents.
Yes.
Seizure of tainted property. Power to search for suspected tainted property. And the powers continue. A lot of powers that they seem to have. Custody, management of seized property, among others. We take a quick break. We'll be right back. We started on such a high note. We wanted, like we always do on this show, to begin from the very basics so that you learn, if you are invited to this office, what do you expect and what you can may happen to you. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is The Law. It's your legal light. It is your health law. And my guests are Musa Ahmed and Julius Opoku Eje, helping us to appreciate the Special Prosecutor's law. So, can the Special Office of the Special Prosecutor arrest people, put them into custody, grant them bail, all of these things? Do they have power to do that?
They do. Powers, as we said just before we went on break, that the police have under the Procedure Code. The police have powers of arrest, they have powers of detention after arrest, and then they have powers of search with or without warrant. So the Office of the Special Prosecutor can arrest you, can detain you, but of course cannot detain you beyond 48 hours, just like the police or anybody cannot. If they're going to keep
that one, it doesn't change.
It hasn't changed. They have to go to court to keep you for longer than 48 hours. They can arrest you without warrant, where all the police can do. Where the conditions exist for police to arrest you without warrant, they also have the same. Where the police have the power and the conditions exist for police to search you without warrant, they have the same. They can do all that.
Musa Ahmed, if I'm invited to the Special Prosecutor's office, what should I expect?
Well, by the Act, you may be invited as a suspect or as a witness or as a person of interest. It depends on the nature of the invitation. If they invite you as a suspect, it means that there is the likelihood that you have committed an offense.
Oh, his line just tripped again. Too bad. Maybe you should continue from where he left off.
Yes, I mean...
He said you could be invited as a suspect, as a person of interest. So the two difference.
Well, if you are a suspect, you are suspected of having committed a crime. They have some information, however they came by the information that you have committed a crime. And if you go as a suspect, you are likely to end up being arrested, whether you are invited or they come to arrest you. And I think we've spoken about this before, the difference between an arrest and invitation. You can choose not to honor an invitation like when everybody invites you. But when you are arrested, you don't have a choice. But it will also not be a very wise thing unless you have reason to not to respond to their invitation and therefore compel them to arrest you.
Thank you. So, Musa Ahmed, Opoku Eje has continued to explain what you meant by when you are invited as a his line is gone off again. I wanted him to continue from a person of interest. What does that mean?
Well, it's similar. You are of interest because they have information that you may have done something. You are not yet a suspect, but they want information from you. They can, as we know, their law allows them to ask you to come. If you don't come, then they arrest you, you become a suspect. So you come, they question you, they ask you to provide documents, they can even ask you to declare your assets or give them information about a suspect or somebody that they are investigating. If they believe you have that information, they have powers to compel you to. That's essentially
okay. So either you are a suspect or you are a person of interest.
Or you are just providing information.
Okay. So Musa Ahmed, if I'm invited as a suspect, how will I know that I'm going as a suspect and not as a person of interest? And how should I prepare myself?
Well, by law, the special prosecutor cannot invite you without letting you know the nature of the invitation and the reason for the invitation. You know, he has to express quite clearly the reason for the invitation, so you know whether you are a suspect. For instance, if you are invited as a suspect, you have all the rights and privileges accorded to any suspect under our laws, in particular the Constitution. You ought to be given the right to a counsel of your own, and normally they will specify it. The letter that gives you the invitation will state that you have a right to a counsel of your choice. And when you get there and it becomes clear that you are under arrest, the special prosecutor, just like any other police officer, must conform with the requirements of the law relating to arrest. He has to inform you the reasons for your arrest in a language that you understand, and then your right to counsel of your choice. So when you are invited, I will advise whether you are invited as a person of interest, as a person to assist in investigation, to give information, you must always go there with a lawyer of your choice. To avoid any, because you may go there and even commit an offense there and become a suspect immediately. As a person of interest, you could become a suspect when you get there, depending on what transpires. If you go there and do something wrong there, you become a suspect. So I wouldn't advise any citizen to just wake up and move in according to their invitation. Go there without a lawyer of your choice. You must always secure a lawyer by your side so as to fully enjoy the rights and privileges accorded you by law.
Okay. All right. So in the course of the discussion, I've seen that if you look at our screen, it is written that OSP cannot arrest persons without the help of the police. It's been explained that that is not the case. It's independent, can act, and it has officers. It can do that by itself. But of course, if they need to collaborate with the police at certain times, they will do so. Our time is fast spent. It ran so fast. What happened? You can call us and ask your questions of the respected lawyers that we are speaking to, and then you'll get some answers to your questions. So tell me, as a lawyer, if I am invited by the special prosecutor and I spoke to you that I've been invited by the special prosecutor and I'm being asked to bring documents or something, you can advise me that it's my right to decide not to go with the documents and so on, or you can't do that?
It depends on what documents they are asking. If the documents are privileged, then I'll advise you not to send the documents, but explain. Then they have to go to court and get the court to order you to produce it. But of course, what you cannot do is say you don't have the documents when you have them. Then assuming you were invited to help in the investigations or as a person of interest, then as Musa Ahmed said, you go there as a helper and leave there as an accused person, because refusing to disclose what you have is in itself a crime. But otherwise, if the documents are not protected by any privilege, then you are obliged to provide them with the documents.
Can they invite anybody over any crime at all, in any offense at all?
Well, it must be corruption or corruption related. If it is corruption or corruption related, and we've stated under the Criminal Offences Act, the Public Procurement Act, certain, and in fact, it goes on after listing certain acts to say any other law.
Okay.
So long as it is corruption related, under the laws of Ghana, they can invite anybody.
Okay. We understand they do plea bargain, they call something nolli proscribe and the rest. We'll get you to explain to us. Hello, Abbas. Let's hear you. What's your question?
Oh, my question is, what are the functions of police can do and that of special prosecutors cannot do? Or when the special prosecutor wasn't there, what was the rule? Those which institutions were fighting corruption and corrupt-related offenses? That's my question.
Thank you very much. But I would presume that your question has been answered in the discussion, correct?
Yes, correct. Except that, maybe let me just clarify that. In fact, the point we just made before his call came in, what the special prosecutor is limited to is corruption and corruption-related offenses. So if somebody breaks into your house to steal your goods, that is not the job of the special prosecutor. It must be corruption or corruption-related.
Okay.
Everything else, the police can do.
And corruption is committed against the state.
Against state resources.
Okay, thank you very much. So Musa Ahmed, I was asking that we are told that they are able to do, is it nolli proscribe and do plea bargain? What are these? And does this make them any special?
Of nolli proscribe is a criminal prosecution concept which empowers the prosecutor to file what we call a nolli proscribe document or process to truncate or bring about an end of the prosecution without a full trial. It means that when such a document is filed by the Attorney General or by the Special Prosecutor during the proceedings of a case, it immediately brings about a stoppage, and the court shall have no jurisdiction to deal with the matter going forward.
Okay. So
may I add, before we move on maybe to plea bargain, that one other difference and some of the transparency issues introduced into this act is that the Attorney General can file a nolli proscribe and end prosecution and not give any reasons. The Special Prosecutor is mandated by law to give reasons why he is truncating any prosecution. So we must know why.
So that's transparency.
Transparency.
That's the progressive nature of criminal process going forward. Okay, because there had been demands that the Attorney General should explain. Anyway, yes, who do we have on the line? Hello, Alasan, let's hear you.
Yes, I want to find out how possible it will be for the special prosecutor to prosecute the Attorney General if he commits some corruption-related things in the country.
Interesting question.
Very interesting.
Have you thought about it?
But I haven't. Very interesting question. But there's no difficulty here. That special prosecutor can prosecute everybody. So long as it relates to corruption, he can prosecute everybody. And it is for that reason, as you said in your intro, that the office was created so that it will not be one person who sits with his ministers in cabinet or party together prosecuting the other. The special prosecutor is outside of the executive, so he can prosecute every member of the executive except the president, who we cannot prosecute.
Musa Ahmed, what can you say about that very, very intriguing question? Briefly, then we close.
This issue, I think, happened in Nigeria and elsewhere, that the courts have said specifically that the similar office, which is the EFFC in Nigeria, they have the power to, they have that power to investigate all ministers of state, including the Attorney General, and where possible to prosecute. But in practice, I know for a fact that it will be difficult in our jurisdiction for the special prosecutor to be able to arrest, investigate, and prosecute the Attorney General without the president coming in to sanction that, it will be very difficult.
Okay.
In the first place, it will be an embarrassment to the state. We know that. The chief legal advisor to the government of the republic to be arrested and prosecuted for corruption, in my opinion, without the sanctioning of the president will be difficult.
Okay.
But there is nothing that bars the special prosecutor in terms of the law from doing so. In practice, it may be difficult.
All right. Thank you so very much. How time flies. Julius Opokweje is head, Opokweje and Co. and Musa Ahmed is head, Ahmed Legal Consult. Thank you all so very much. They have helped us to understand some of the powers and functions of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. This has been The Law. It's your legal light. It's your help law. I'm Samson Ladi Anyanini. We'll come your way next week, same time, with some more legal education to empower you. Have a good afternoon.